A quiet night at the office. No phone calls, no messages, nothing but junk mail and overdue bills to keep me company. Seems nobody wants to hire a real private dick anymore, a professional like me. A guy who does the detective work nobody else wants to do. A guy who wears hats and walks around in a black and white world. I began contemplating a more profitable line of work, like politics.
We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to Joe.
All right, folks. Here we are. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. And we kick off another week, and the year has gone by. The month is going by. It's after Labor Day. I guess we can't wear white anymore. And they're shutting the pools down, right? The pools are getting shut down at our condos, things like that. But let's get into some housekeeping. For the next hour, you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. We also have our text line up and running. That's 617-297-8388, 617-297-863. Let me try that again, 297-8388. And when you text that, it appears on the screen here in the studio in real time as a broadcast from the palatial, but not overly ostentatious, WCRN studios. High atop the Carberry Towers in Westboro, Massachusetts. Today, behind the glass, flying the board. So he will get you set up and into the studio for two-way talk and conversation, and that's easy to do at 508-871-7000. Don't forget the station does stream 24/7 on the TuneIn app like thousands of other radio stations. So you can take us anywhere, and I love that feature. If you have Alexa right now, a lot of us don't do that. I don't like her in the house. I don't like that. I already have enough hot microphones, I think. But if you do, you can just say, hey, Alexa, play WCRN. She'll do it, no questions asked. Now, I do stream the show on multiple platforms, obviously on the station's Facebook page and YouTube channel. But I do stream it live, meaning the camera and audio, on my social media platforms, X and Facebook, Instagram, that's Joe Mangiacotti Show, also Twitch TV, LinkedIn profile, and we do stream live to the Rumble channel. So a lot of ways to listen, a lot of ways to watch. And don't forget, the show is actually turned into a podcast when I get off the air. So you can subscribe to the Joe Mangiacotti Show wherever you get your podcasts. So that could be Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Tuned In, you know the drill on that. And don't forget to follow me, social media, and check out joemangiashow.com for our blog site and website. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's how you do it. Ted is anxious to get you into the studio. And I guess we're going to kick off because we already got Mark on the phone waiting. So, Mark, this has got to be important, man. What's up? What say you?
Yeah, you think World War III is important? I do. Apparently, President Macron of France is telling his people to prepare for war over the next 12 months. That sounds pretty serious to me. What does Mr. Macron know that we don't or haven't been told?
And it's France, so how hard is it to surrender? But it's
it won't be funny when the nukes are blowing.
No, it won't be funny. It won't be funny at all. And here's the thing. Look, we're seeing this frustration growing with Trump because he does not like the fact that you've got, Putin is talking out of both sides of his mouth. He goes to Alaska. He does this whole thing. Meanwhile, he cranks up the bombing. He's made it clear in the way that he does that nukes aren't off the table for him. So, yeah, we are in a minefield here, but haven't we been for decades anyway? And as far as the hype goes, prepare for war. When Trump got elected, we heard that too, right? The only president who didn't have any wars started under him. I don't like the idea. It does scare me that it's on the horizon. But right now, I'm hoping that the Trump, through strength, is going to keep things.
You know what scares me about it?
What's that?
These words are not coming from Trump. These words are not coming from Vladimir. These words are coming from the president of France. who hasn't won a war
Yeah.
since Napoleon.
Fake news.
Exactly. Look, and that's the other part of this. Actually, is I have to take the source. I don't know if Macron's the most genius guy on the playing on the chessboard here when it comes to geopolitical analysis. I don't know. I don't know him well enough to even say that, I guess. I'm more concerned with Xi Jinping's comments, Iran's comments, and of course Putin's comments. To your point, Mark, when has France, really won the war? I mean, we joke about how they just surrender. They rather just get occupied. Ted, you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, it's not a polite word, so I won't use it. But the French have always been historically referred to as this group of people who, they practice the first profession. And they will take money to say whatever they need to get the money.
Yeah. So, I mean, when he's saying this, I mean, France traditionally is the first one to be like, oh, okay, I understand what you're saying, Mark. I agree with you. The tensions are way too hot. Things are way too volatile. And a lot of it, in my opinion, has to do with the gap of the Trump. And I'm split on this because I think, first of all, Putin, to his own admission, would not have invaded Ukraine if Trump was in his second term consecutively. And a lot of other things would be different, right? The Abraham's Accord had kicked in. Iran was basically on their knees, ready to give in. They held out long enough for the election. If Trump had gotten reelected consecutively, they would have given in to the Abraham's Accord in certain agreements. So the implemented Joe Biden presidency caused a lot of problems worldwide. Everything from the invasion to Ukraine, some of the other fire-ups, including the issue with the petroleum dollar and the American dollar for oil, and the BRICS nation getting some traction because of what he pulled with the bank. And then it split against Donald Trump having a break and coming back. And I think that the break did a lot of good for him, but a lot of good for the country in that we, the people, got a taste of what would be happening under a Kamala Harris or another Joe Biden term, and reminded us, to kind of snap back into, we needed that B slap, basically. And I think it also gave Donald Trump 4 years to plan. I think he had a massive amount of confidence that he would win because, as he said, too big to rig, and look at what he was running against. So I think he was confident. It didn't mean he slacked, right? He did what he needed to do, and he overwhelmingly won his second term, 9 consecutive second term. But the guy didn't hang around Mar-a-Lago and his golf courses for 4 years. Don't get me wrong. He absolutely played golf and socialized. But because in his first term, he was an absolute neophyte in the political world. He was a guy that was just used to the Mitt Romneys and the Hillary Clintons of the world coming to him, even the ones who say how horrible he is today, with their hand out, asking for a check, and he wrote the checks and he understood how this thing works. But he went from that to running for office. And he didn't know a lot of things when he went in that first term. He didn't know just how down and dirty and corrupt the swamp was. And he let a lot of people who were part of the establishment stay in those positions. He counted on the senators from the different states when it came to things like the U.S. attorney and stuff like that. But now, coming back with the 4-year break, in his words, now he knows who the smart people are, who the not so smart people are, who the backstabbers are, who the patriots are. And that's why when you see the new cabinet coming in, and the attorney general and DOD secretary, or I should say Department of War secretary now, and he moved fast. Mark, you're just a little older than me. But in my lifetime of paying attention to the presidencies, I don't recall any president working at this speed. A couple hundred EOs already. I hit that milestone the other day. The big beautiful bill that got through. Just the amount of stuff that's being done by this administration. He had 4 years to gear this up, and he hit the ground. I mean, he gave new definition to hitting the ground running. And look at the number of cabinet meetings, televised, exposed, versus Biden and all other presidents. So I think in a lot of ways, folks, we are benefiting from the year off, or the term, I should say, the 4 years off, the term off, the 2 non-consecutive Trump terms. And I love the fact that he still trolls the left with his running for a third term. And the fact that we have Trump 2028 hats out. And when that drives my liberal friends crazy, I said, you got to remember, there's a lot of Trumps. You're just assuming it's Donald Trump. There's Don Jr., there's Eric, there's Laura. It's all kinds of Trump. They might just hold the seat until Barron's old enough, So, yeah, look, he's trolling them. He's doing that in a lot of ways. But the bottom line is he's getting results. And despite the knee-jerk Trump derangement syndrome that these blue mayors and states have, the actual citizens like the crackdown on crime. They like the no tips on taxes, right? No taxes on the tips. Let's stop. What's the old Willy Wonka? Wait, stop, reverse that. No taxes on tips. And all of the things that are setting him aside. And the beauty of this is, when you really look at his position and his policies, they're really based in common sense. I mean, this is a guy that was a New York liberal for many decades and decided to run as a Republican. And he's running in every position he has. To me, doesn't it? I mean, I don't agree with everything, every policy. I don't agree with some things he's doing. I don't like that he downplays the Jeffrey Epstein files at all. I don't understand that. But the point is, the policies are pretty much common sense. And majority of us out here go, why aren't we doing that? Why is this? Why is that? This makes sense. That's the bottom line on that. Thank you for the call, Mark. Okay, folks, we do have to, that was quick. We have to take our first break here on the Monday edition. I didn't remember the day for a second. Monday edition. We'll be back in 2 and 10. Stick with us.
Did you know most chicken restaurants fry their food in inflammatory canola oil, the kind linked to chronic inflammation and health issues? At New Chicken, we're rewriting the fast food playbook. Located at 318 Park Avenue in Worcester, Mass., we serve up delicious comfort food with a conscience. Our chicken is humanely raised and free from hormones and antibiotics. Then fried in clean, heart-smart avocado oil packed with nutrients and flavor. And our fries, forget the greasy stuff. Ours are cooked in traditional, savory beef tallow. It's how fries used to taste before processed oils took over. No factory oils, no synthetic shortcuts, just real, honest food made for people who care about what goes in their bodies. At New Chicken, your health doesn't get sidelined for convenience. You get both, the flavor you crave and ingredients that matter. Stop by today and taste the difference. New Chicken, where fast food finally grows up.
This is Jerry Doherty, host of Making Money Last, right here on WCRN. Like all business owners, I'm interested in why people choose to work with Boston Independence Group. So I asked my clients. The most common response, Jerry does not try to be all things to all people. Boston Independence Group is specialized, focused solely on retirement planning. My customers enjoy the difference. We do one thing, and we do it exceptionally well. Help other people live better in retirement. That's it. If you're ready to retire or making plans to retire, we can do for you what we've done for hundreds of other retirees throughout New England. Live better in retirement. Just give me a call. I'll show you how. My toll-free number is 877-772-1776. Again, that number is 877-772-1776. And you can visit us on the web at bostonindependencegroup.com. bostonindependencegroup.com.
All right, folks. Welcome back here to the second segment on the Monday afternoon edition here of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. I hope the weekend was fantastic for you. And like I said, the pools are closing. It's getting a little cooler at night. You got to worry about the plants now, whatever the case is. All right, for the remainder of the hour, please join the conversation at 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000. Text line at 617-297-8388. Now, I got a comment on this story out of Georgia, and I know you finally are seeing it on the social media feeds. You're seeing it on newscasts. But back on August 22nd, a 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee, female, Irina Zarutska, who arrived in Charlotte, North Carolina back in 2022, died a brutal death, fatally stabbed on the Blue Line light rail by a 34-year-old man with a violent criminal history, DeCarlos Brown Jr. And there's two things going on here. I mean, here's a 23-year-old woman who flees war-torn Ukraine for her safety. She gets out of a war-torn country to come to the United States, where she, I'm sure, had a feeling of safety to a certain degree. Hell, I just left a war zone. And she gets on this train, and it's still in her pizzeria uniform. You know, she's got a job, she's working, she's got the refugee status, she's here legally. All life is pretty good, given that your country just got blown up and invaded for no reason except for a maniac. And there's video footage from the train. But the other part of the story is the suppression of the story itself. And that major news outlets were not covering it. But, say, Daniel Penny was covered constantly with a spin and a twist. Because I don't remember a lot of fair and balanced reporting on Daniel Penny. And a matter of fact, if you remember in that case, the detectives, NY detectives, who responded, including the on-site detective in charge, after hours of questioning and interviewing Daniel and everyone else, clearly determined this was not a murder. This is a tragic death in a self-defense type of situation. And it was only days later, through political pressure, that charges were brought on him. And fortunately, the court system worked, and he was found not guilty. But the fact that this brutal, and it's brutal, I don't know if you've been able to find the actual full video because the news is going to stop it. But this poor woman, still in her uniform from work, pizza joint, gets on a train, gets, checking her phone out just like any other 23-year-old's going to do. And this person, who had no business, when you look at the history, his history, should have even been out. His own mother saying this. Now, this guy Brown, he was arrested at the next train stop. She sits down, and shortly after, the train starts to move. And you can see it clear. Nope, there's no provocation here. There's nothing. He just pops up and starts to stab her multiple times. She died at the scene. And it shows Brown just randomly attacking her, plunging the knife into her throat within seconds of the train ride starting. He was arrested at the next stop, charged with first-degree murder. And thank goodness a judge denied bond. Maybe because it's Georgia, I don't know, but they're pretty whack too, right? Isn't Fannie Willis there? Charged with first-degree murder, denied the bond and ordered a competency hearing, or evaluation, I should say, not a hearing. And he cited Brown's prior convictions and mental health history. That's the key one, right? And this case has drawn attention to, of course, the shortcomings in North Carolina's mental health criminal justice system. But you could almost put any city or state in there, right? I mean, we got to go back to the 80s when we basically shut down a lot of mental hospitals and asylums and put them out on the street. And a lot of people who are in jail, a lot of people who are on the streets as homeless people, they're there because of mental health issues. And this guy Brown has a long history of criminal activity as well as being diagnosed with schizophrenia. And even though he's been institutionalized, he has institutional failures. He's missed competency evaluations. We got to look at this. The system absolutely failed society. This man needed to be somewhere where it was secure, that could not only protect him, but protect others for his safety and our safety, the population. The Daily Caller, Ingersoll, guy over at the Daily Caller, he criticized the major liberal media for basically ignoring this case. And like I said, they couldn't get enough of Daniel Perry. And most of them wanted him to pay for it. They threw the race card in immediately. And based on my observation of the interviews of Perry and so forth, again, race wasn't there. The people who inject race into these situations, I just wish somebody would explain to them how racist that is. Because they don't get it. Because they're above that. They're right. The arrogance there is amazing. Ingersoll defines this selective attention, as he says, deranged liberal empathy. A critique that these outlets empathize with criminals or marginalized perpetrators rather than, of course, the innocent victims, like Zutarsky. We see this over and over again, folks, do we not? And then if you challenge them on that, you're like, but don't you understand that they're, the Maryland dad? I mean, how many Democrats will look that on the 5, Jessica Toloff, right? She's supposed to be the liberal at the table. And if you believe the gossip column, she's short time on that show, I guess. They might replace her with Harold Ford Jr. permanently. But the point is, she's constantly having to backtrack because she's trying to defend anything that's done by the Republicans, conservatives, or Trump. She's trying to explain how wrong we are and how bad that is. And then she ends up defending wife beaters and child molesters and human traffickers because she wants to have Trump or anything MAGA connected wrong. And just how stupid we all are. So Axios also got into the media's indifference in tone and coverage between those two cases. Because it's politically driven by these GOP pounces. It really is. So you have a refugee from a war-torn, the war is not only at full blown right now, but she came a few years ago, 2022. She got the hell out of there, right? Seeking safety, fresh start. And she lost her life in this brutal, unprovoked attack on public transit. Public transportation. She had fled a country where a bomb could have fallen on her head at any moment. And she comes to the land of the free and the brave, brutally murdered on public transportation. And Brown has this long criminal history, right? Robbery, larceny, breaking and entering, schizophrenia diagnosed, missed the evaluations, missed court dates. And the court allowed him. You have a person who can't take care of themselves, and they decide, we'll just let them run the streets. No supervision. Why? And this is the problem. Ted, you want to jump in on that, Lisa?
Yeah, to a certain extent, the system did fail, but this guy has personal responsibility for
100%.
hacking a young woman to death. Literally. I know we say stabbed or she was,
No,
but
it
she was
brutal.
hacked
Mhm.
to death with a really big blade in front of other people.
Mhm.
So there's other people that have been traumatized by this, and he has a personal responsibility. Yes, the system has failed us, failed him, but
no question. Nobody's to blame but for Brown. Brown did it. But we failed in allowing this man to walk the streets with the history he had, the mental health issues well known, the diagnosis. But here's the thing. We don't go around and with reports of everybody's background. The system that we have, that we live in, the institutions that we have, we're supposed to have safety nets, and we're supposed to have these policies in place that are supposed to give us some kind of, and I can't use the word guarantee, there are none in life, but a reasonable expectation that if somebody is a danger, that they're going to be locked up.
Joe, so many people game the system.
Oh, yeah.
The system is broken because of it. It's not because we don't have laws that can control this.
We have these people who have changed these laws. These no cash bail. These judges that are like, what the hell are you a judge for? The fact that you have, look at Gene Pirro talking about, they changed the law in Washington that I can't charge these thugs and these POSs because they're of a certain age. They can do big boy adult crimes, but I can't charge them with big boy adult crimes. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And it seems like the media's empathy is always skewed towards the perpetrators. Nobody, the mainstream or mainstream media, whatever you want to call them, man, they never put the victim first. We have to take our mid-show break here on the Monday edition, folks. 508-871-7000. Lines open and available. Hey, back in 2 minutes, 10 seconds.
Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and here's the latest Boston 25 weather on Radio 830 WCRN. Highs will make it to the lower 70s for today, which is pretty typical for this time of the year. We'll go with some filtered sunshine, thicker clouds closer to the coastline and down in southeastern Massachusetts. The further north and west you go, the brighter it's going to be. Tonight, plan on 40s and 50s. That means a chilly start to tomorrow, but another round of lower 70s in the afternoon. I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and you can hear Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
More live and local radio is next. Stay tuned to Radio Central, 830 WCRN.
Looking for a fuel and food stop that truly stands out? Experience the Yatco difference. At Yatco, we're dedicated to bringing you the best customer service, the highest quality products, and a commitment to making your life on the go easier. Yatco has 15 convenient locations across central Massachusetts, and now our newest spot at 75 Quonsigamut Ave in Worcester. Yatco, where every stop keeps you going.
Polar Park is the place to play, so treat yourself to a private suite at the best ballpark in AAA. Suite rentals are the best way to enjoy a fully catered and climate-controlled experience at the park. Whether you choose to watch the game from inside of the suite or out in your seats, it's the ultimate experience for a special occasion. Visit WooSox.com or call 508-500-8888 to reserve your suite today.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second half of the Monday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on Radio Central, AM 830, WCRN, from the center of the dial, the center of New England, and the center of information, AM 830, WCRN. Reminding you, you can join the conversation for the remainder of the hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. And join the other people who are viewing on any of the platforms, Facebook, X, Twitch TV, LinkedIn profile, and of course, our Rumble channel as well. So you can watch and listen as well. Anyway, let's go to the phones. Ken's waiting patiently. Hey, Ken, what say you?
Hello, Joe. On today's murder story, what's really the difference between this one and the Shrewsbury man last week?
Fill me in on the Shrewsbury man.
Oh, now that's interesting, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of proves the answer to all you were just talking about. There was a man who has a habit of putting graffiti, not just on his house, but all over the place. And surprise, surprise, he's very lefty in what he's doing for graffiti. Well, guess what? I think it was Wednesday morning, Shrewsbury. A man like 58 happened to have a 6 or 7-year-old kid, happened to see this guy doing the graffiti on public property.
Yeah.
And he had the good Samaritan thing to call the cops. But he got shot 5 times and killed by the graffiti man, who had many instances prior to this that should have been put away a long time ago.
So was
this guy's been reported to Worcester Police Department, and literally it's not the police that let him go, it's the people who should be arresting him, and the district attorney's office.
The district attorney didn't bother to research it for years. And so when it came to court, hey, we don't have enough to go anywhere. Oh, that's too bad.
2 weeks prior,
let's just wait till he kills somebody on the street.
2 weeks prior, this guy was cited by another walker by who told him to stop doing it. And the guy threatened him with a knife. The guy went to the police and reported it. But again, no district attorney action. It was some 3 weeks later that this guy was walking his kid to school, didn't say anything, brought his kid to school, turned around and walked back after reporting it to the police and confronted the guy and said, you got to stop doing that. The guy turned around and shot him 3 times in Shrewsbury.
Okay, I'm fine.
Coincidence that you don't hear anything. Do you remember the day, Joe, when something like this would happen and you would expect the governor, mayor, whoever the authorities were, we're going to make sure we prosecute. You know, they're all over the place. You know why? Because they wanted to assure the voters that they're on top of it. Oh, but those days are long gone. Oh, no. The people that those in Massachusetts vote for, oh, no. They want just the opposite.
You know, Ken, it's funny you say that because one day last week, Jean Pirro was on something, and she did that delivery with the, we'll prosecute to the full extent of the law. These aren't getting away with it. And I'm like, God, you don't hear that anymore. You do from her, of course.
Not a blue state.
This is just, I wasn't aware of, obviously I wasn't aware of this graffiti shot story with the shooting. And so this guy, it was in Shrewsbury it happened. Okay.
Right.
And he's painting somebody else's house or his house?
Public property.
Public property.
Yeah, so he
and it's a well-known thing. So the cops have never haven't intervened because of the graffiti alone. Or they have.
He's also been involved in wielding a machete too. He's been very dangerous. He's been known to be a mental case. And
I got to ask the question because I can't read the story in on the air. Was the gun he used his gun? Was it legally registered? Was it? Did he have the right to have it? Was it a legal gun? Was he illegal carrying it? Does anyone know?
I haven't heard that report.
They'd have to cover the story, Joe.
Jesus.
But now let's throw another. Guess what? He has a certain identity that we've been hearing over and over.
Oh, here we go. Really?
Yeah.
What does it identify as?
Like all the others that have been happening, like a few weeks ago in Minneapolis, in Tennessee, that wherever you find big news about a shooting, or in this case, well, it's another shooting. This one just one. It's a common identity.
You know, Joe, a lot of these guys are really very clever because they only do their graffiti on property that's, let's say it's either federal or state, like underpasses and overpasses, where they do this graffiti work. So the local PD and the local government is limited as to, they have to call the state police, they have to call the federales, and you know how long that takes.
Oh,
So
I wasn't
where
aware
are
of this.
the local people going after their elected officials? That's who I blame.
Yeah.
Stop voting for these fools.
Well, Ken, that's the point. Is, as it's been said, you deserve the government you elect. And the question is, when we see, and I know this is going to offend the Elizabeth Warren supporters, but seriously, you really think she's the best person to continually to put back time and time again? I mean, it's right. You got RFK did the drop mic with when she's up there, and he's like, "Look, what I know is you got $855,000 just in 1 year from the pharmaceutical companies, and all you're worried about is it's going to be available in a CVS or Walgreens." Well, obviously, you got your talking points. Look at who was it that did the comment about, was it Robin Williams that, politicians and diapers should be changed often for the same reason? Come on, people, shake it up once in a while. You got to get fresh blood in there. These people get way too corrupt. And then, I just seem to remember 30, 40 years ago, more debates and more involved debates. In the last decade or a decade and a half or so, I'm going back anyway, probably to the early 2000s, so maybe last couple decades plus. It just seems like we don't have several debates for each office. I mean, when I was a young guy and a reporter first starting out in election season, all I did was go to debate after debate, and there was op-eds and this and that. And now it just seems like we'll have one debate, for the whole campaign, and it's usually very slanted. It doesn't give us enough. We've got to have
Joe
better
back then,
candidates.
Back then, the institutions were a little biased. Okay,
They've always been biased.
The Boston Globe's always been.
Yeah,
but now all of the institutions are so wildly partisan. It's like having everything run by Providence.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is why the blessing that we have in the internet is it's allowed citizen journalists, it's allowed these alternative news outlets to grow, whether it's America Online or Newsmax or even Fox for that matter. But there's some liberal ones out there too. But then you've got right? You got these individuals. They might have Substack or whatever, but they're out there and they're doing old-fashioned gumshoe type of reporting. Andrew Ngo got beat within an inch of his life while covering the riots, and he's a protected class. He's Asian and gay, and they still, because he was doing honest, fair reporting, and they weren't going to tolerate it.
Joe, our political conversations and our political rhetoric back in the day was always a dialogue. Now it's a monologue on both sides.
Yeah. And in the left, and I'm sorry, it's just the way it is, folks. If you don't agree with them, you shouldn't have the right to talk because you're too dangerous. Words are now violence. Yeah, and it's just
for in the morning show, Joe.
Say again?
I'm not saying by the host. There are people that are berating the host that they need to censor.
On my station?
In the morning show, I'm talking to people who listen.
Yeah.
It's good that you have a wide list of people who listen.
Yeah.
But those who are hearing our voice are getting ticked off and want us censored.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying. So there are people who are on the left on the morning show who would like to see me not on the air, you mean?
There are people who want revolution. And you know enough about what's been going on in Worcester the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
They're way on the left radical. Very dangerous.
Yeah. Well, again, I always, usually anyway, I go to the side of more talk, more dialogue, not censorship. And even though I hear on my own station some of the most biased, ridiculous, racist bull, the only antidote to that is to call it out and use some common sense and apply to it. I'm not saying that I don't think some people have crossed the line, I think, and there's been discussions about that, but I know what you're saying.
The variety of shows is good and very healthy. Just as you're saying, more discourse.
Yeah.
And then we pray that, people get a handle on this isn't on the right path, folks. This is your state in particular. It's getting really dangerous. You don't get that governor out. I pray. That's all I have to say. And I have, my daughter's family there, so I pray for them.
Yeah. Maura Healey is a huge disappointment, man. She's a horrible governor. And so, I mean, Massachusetts across the board. Ken, we're against the clock. Final thought?
No, I think I said it all, but I'll say more in the future.
All right. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it. All right, folks, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Lines open and available. Of course, you can text us if you want at the text number 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388. We're against the clock, but when I come back, I want to talk about this D.C. case with the intern, who was an intern Massachusetts kid, Eric Tarpinian Jackham, 21-year-old congressional intern. He was working for Ron Estes out of Kansas. He was a student at UMass, and he was shot and killed on June 30th, late at night in the northwest part of D.C. Horrible. And this wasn't like the Rich Egan one, who was supposed to be whistleblowing on the DNC a couple hours after he was gunned down on the street. All right, we have to take our third final break, folks. We'll be back for the fourth segment of the Monday edition. Back 2 in 10. Stick with us.
Are you looking for a holistic approach to your health? One that supports your body's natural ability to regulate, adapt, regenerate, and heal? Look no further. The Bioregulatory Medicine Institute, BRMI, a nonprofit global organization dedicated to advancing the science and art of bioregulatory medicine, welcomes you to their free and rich library of resources. You'll find articles, podcasts, videos, and more at brmi.online. BRMI believes health freedom is a basic human right, honoring medical ethics and the innate intelligence of the human body. When your body is properly supported, it will thrive. If you're looking for the root cause of illness, physical, emotional, or spiritual, visit brmi.online. brmi.online.
Hi, folks. This is Mike Stacey, head professional at Norton Country Club, welcoming you to the start of the 2025 golf season. Norton Country Club is a championship 18-hole golf course located just minutes off of 495. The course came through the winter grid, and we're open for daily fee, as well as having membership opportunities and outings available. Our clubhouse is a great venue for your wedding or group gathering needs. If you're interested, call 508-285-2400, extension 1 for events, or 103 for golf, as well as nortoncountryclub.com. Hope to see you out there.
Building AI Boston is a tech talk for everyone. Listen in to find out why you belong in the conversations shaping our future every Thursday morning, 10:30 Eastern Time on Radio Central AM 830 WCRN.
Paul Harvey captivated us with his unique blend of wit, curiosity, and that unforgettable sign-off. WCRN Radio is proud to reintroduce Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. Weekday mornings at 9, only on WCRN.
All right, folks, welcome back here to the fourth and final segment on the Monday afternoon edition here of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Join the conversation for the time we have left together at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. So going to the break, I made reference to this D.C. case. Again, Janine Pirro, she's the now confirmed U.S. attorney for the D.C. district. And she confirmed the charges in that they were looking, but they've arrested these suspects, two 17-year-olds with prior violent records. And again, it shows the revolving door of juvenile justice, and DC is majorly feeling, right? That was one of the things Pirro was saying when she went in. And she's looking at what they've done. And remember, it's a federal city, and it was only the Homeland 1973 Act that allowed them to have a mayor and a board and all of that. But
Actually, they're not a city; they're a district.
District. That's what I'm saying.
And in 1973, they were given a charter to have a local government.
Exactly.
But
so they didn't exist till 73, folks. The whole idea, and remember, way back then, wasn't a Mayor Barry or something who was like a crackhead?
And, Cocaine Barry, yeah.
And the guy was constantly found in cheap hotels with professionals. And anyway, it didn't work out. And that's why Trump or any president, again, because I don't like to make it sound like it's a Trump thing. The office of the presidency is actually in charge of DC technically. And again, through the Home Rule Act of 1973, it gave them the ability to have a mayor and a board.
Hey, can we point out that the District of Columbia's charter to have a local government, and they went ahead and elected a drug-addled whoremonger. And then, after he was put in jail and released, they voted him in again.
Yeah, this is why, because people are smart, mobs are stupid and dangerous. But this is why, to me, it speaks to why it's so important that we have election integrity. Because, and don't tell me there is an election fraud. As a matter of fact, I think I have a story here because we have a woman and her dog, right? She actually registered her dog. Let me find this. This is crazy. A 62-year-old Costa Mesa, California woman, Laura Lee Urox, 5 felony charges. So she registered her dog. Now, Teddy Goodpup was about as human-like as a puppy could get. But I never registered him to vote. He got credit card offers. He did.
Yeah.
Teddy Mangiacotti actually showed up from credit card offers because they buy these lists off social media and stuff. They don't know. But this woman, and registered the dog, by the way, as Maya Jean Urix. So that's the name that she used the dog. And the dog is irrelevant. She made a name up. It's not like the dog can go in and sign a registration form. So registered to vote and then used the mail-in ballots in the dog's name. In both the 2021 California gubernatorial recall election and the 2022 primary election. And the recall vote was counted, but the 2022 primary ballot was rejected. But a vote got made. So when somebody wants to start talking to me about, well, there is no voter fraud, because remember, we used to be told there's no voter fraud. And then when you go, well, and once you get 20, 30 cases into all the different fraud, they go, all right, well, there is, but it would never make a difference. Then we actually look at the polls and we look at the numbers. And when the 20,000 people who are dead have voted in 10,000 or 11,000 votes would have made a difference in the election, that argument falls apart.
Joe, how is it possible in the 2020 election for there to be more votes in Pennsylvania than there
registered.
are voters?
Exactly.
How is it possible?
It's not. unless you're doing this. So this dog, by the way, Maya, is still getting her ballots mailed to the house. And the dog passed away. So she self-reported the dog's registration to the Orange County Register of Voters in October last year. This triggered an investigation that uncovered enough evidence here to prosecute her. So she has a count of perjury, one count of procuring or offering a false forged document, 2 counts of casting a ballot when not entitled to, 1 count of registering a non-existent person to vote. Now, if convicted on all counts, she faces up to 6 years in state prison. My point being, tying it into the fact that we get who we deserve who we elect. My point is, do we always elect them, though? I don't think we always elect them. We don't have the time, but we could drill down to the 2020 elections and the inconsistencies there and look at that from the 30,000 point of view and just the improbability of what happened there to happen. So we got election integrity versus absurdity sometimes, folks. In this case, right, it highlights a rare but serious breach. Intentionally misusing voter registration to cast ballots in a non-human name. It's absurd and alarming. So there's no question that the system can be manipulated. And there's other cases. I've got a file in my office of all these. I always collect these voter fraud stories. The other woman they got who ran the phony ballot, 20 times.
It's been going on for quite some time. There are cases in Lansing, Michigan, of people being prosecuted for voter fraud.
And they should be prosecuted. Here's the thing. And that's one of the reasons Trump pulled Space Force and moved it, because they went all mail-in ballots. Mail-in ballot for election integrity, here's the steps that have to be done. Because even Barack Obama said it, you can't hack the election because it's not one big election, it's 50 smaller elections. True. But it's funny when you look at the numbers and you drill down in the states that have voter ID and day of voting and stuff, they happen to actually all have gone conservative when they elect governors and stuff. In the blue states where they allow mail-in mass mail ballots, think about that. You didn't request it. Just because you're registered, they mail a ballot to you. And that's out there floating in the world. Would you be okay if they mailed you $1,000 in cash? What's more valuable, or what should be more valuable? So mail-in ballots have got to be eliminated. We had mail-in ballots for years. They were called absentee. So if you were out of the country, serving overseas in one of the armed forces, or if you were ill, you requested it. As long as you were registered, they'd send it directly to the house you're registered to. You'd have a witness, you'd sign it, the city clerk or town clerk, who usually knew a lot of these people, would make the determination if it was legit or not. And if they felt that everything worked, they'd put it in to be counted, or they'd reject it. Then COVID comes along and this brilliant idea to just mail these out. How many stories did we cover about boxes of ballots thrown on the side of the road? How many videos did we see of a person driving up to one of these ballot box drop boxes and standing there dumping a big bin of ballots into it in the middle of the night? First of all, why the middle of the night? Second of all, one person, one vote. You're not supposed to walk around with more than one ballot, and that ballot has to be yours. There are the cases of the daughter or son taking mom or dad's from the nursing home, right? Those are all understandable, and there were all provisions for this. But we've got to go to get rid of the idea of a drop ballot box drop box. We have one of those. We've had them for years. They're called a mailbox. Second of all, paper ballots. Machines at voting polls, basic computer. It's a counter. That's all it needs to do. How many people checked in? How many ballots were put in the box? Do they match up? Period. It doesn't need to, I don't want to vote on a digital screen, and I certainly don't want my voting to be connected to the internet. There's no reason in the world it needs to be on the internet. I think that every voter list needs to be purged before voting day. And I know the left has tried to twist that voter purging and voter suppression. And then they, of course, you got to throw in the racist, right? Purging a voter list is racist. So either those people know exactly that that's BS and they're just playing that card, or they just aren't smart enough to understand it. All voter purging means is you just go through the voter list, and if you are dead, they remove you. If you've moved out of the district and you don't live there, you're not entitled to vote there anymore. It's not a bad thing. Voter purging the voter list is not only a good thing, it should be a required thing. 6 months before every election, that voter registration list should have to be confirmed that everybody on there is eligible. And then when someone like Crockett comes out and says, by, purging the voter list, the number of people voting goes down. Yeah, you can't make that stuff up, man. That was her argument. Why do you think it goes down, Jasmine? Oh, man, we're against the clock. We're going to have to wrap up for this Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. But this is just absolutely ridiculous. Another example of voter interference, voter fraud. It's enough, folks. But I'll be back tomorrow afternoon, 1 o'clock, same bat time, same bat channel, of course. Joe Mangiacotti Show, Monday through Thursday, 1 o'clock. Fridays, the Cowboys take it over. Follow me on my social media platforms at Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I, and go to joemangishow.com for the blog site and the shows. Thank you for joining me. Have a great rest of the day, folks. Joe out.